Welcome back. Well, Nigeria's housing market is under growing strain, and for many, the cost of shelter is rising faster than income. From high-end districts in Lagos and Abuja to emerging suburbs and satellite towns, our rents have surged significantly in the first quarter of 2026. What used to be considered middle-class housing is increasingly out of reach, forcing families to move farther away from city centers in search of affordability. Joining me for this conversation now, we have Mr. Segun Philips, who's the MD CEO of Sabreworks. He joins me right here in the studio. It's great to have you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, laddie. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm trying to be fine.
So what would you like me to speak about first, the good news or the bad news?
Let's start
because
with...
you said that the families are leaving...
Yeah, because I read something online recently. They called it the displacement paradox.
All right.
Where we see families that are used to staying on the island. They were used to a particular rent.
And a particular lifestyle.
And a lifestyle. But the rent has shot up so much, and they now move to the mainland. And because of their high demand for the mainland, mainland prices are also rising fast.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're all being chased out at this point.
Chased out into where?
Exactly. Where are we going?
And for what reason?
Right.
So basically, the market's real estate has increased over the last quarter, but it has been hedged by inflation, and people now and developers now look at edging their funds into quick wins. You develop, you move away, instead of looking at a 10, 20, 50-year payment plans for the average Nigerian. For example, we don't have mortgage. Mortgages are below 5% GDP for the average Nigerian. So for a Nigerian to afford a mortgage, you probably be on high end over there, on that level where you're earning close to 20, 15 million naira per annum. You can't go for 10, 7, 8 million naira per annum. You find Nigerians in a quagmire where instead of paying long term for your house that you own over a 10, 15 year, you see yourself paying incessantly for rent. However, infrastructure infrastructure for real estate environments is not moving as quickly and as fast as people going to places. Remember, Lagos carries 60% of real estate infrastructure in Nigeria itself. And over 3,000 to 5,000 Nigerians everywhere are coming to Lagos on a daily basis. So it calls for question, there needs to be housing. These people go to the places that they likely know that, yes, houses are cheap. Where are those places? Somewhere far off on the mainland, or somewhere far off in the extent of the island. When you talk about island, you look at three spheres: the VI, the Lekki Main, and the other areas further down. So those areas are places where you go to, but infrastructure is not moving as equally fast in that direction. As such, it calls for concern. That's why the Lagos Calabar Expressway has been a succor to each and every one of us on that corridor. You find that Nigerians are living 2 to 4 hours traffic trench on a daily basis. It calls for question, what are we doing? So what we need to do as a country and as a people is to ensure we restructure the built industry in terms of funding. We cannot find infrastructure. We cannot have people living in houses without a proper financial mortgage structure. Our financial mortgage structure is more of talk. People are not completely, the policymakers there are not implementing. And that's part of the problem we have as a people and as a country, Nigerians. We talk. We have blueprints. It's lovely, but we are not implementing as we should implement. And that's basically a challenge. So you find the average Nigerian coming in, he stays in a place comfortable, somewhere on the island. Over time, rent shoots up, and he needs to find somewhere else. And people are finding succor in the mainland. However, the mainland are taking its own new trend now. Things are expensive.
So at this point, we've tried subsidy, with petrol.
All right.
We've had to stop that.
All right.
Is it time to introduce subsidy in housing? Are we there?
Yeah, we are there. Because basically, you can't find a successful and a confident and a happy citizen without housing. Housing is basic, it's normal, it's every citizen's right. So at this stage, we need to ensure we do subsidy, but subsidy well planned, well implemented, subsidy that begs for accountability. Those are where we have mortgages. Those are where we have financial institutions that can be the pockets to which these subsidies are given out. And they're given out to the Nigerian populace, the working class youths who are responsible, who are credible, and who are accountable, and people who are qualified. not people that go through the back doors. Because that's basically part of the challenge we have in this country. People try to jump the gun. They try to do not go through due process. And that's part of the things that causes our challenges. But subsidy, I think, is something we should look out for, but it has to be done with accountability.
Right. And definitely we've also seen the so-called outskirts also get really pricey at this point. So what's your advice for that average family man? He's trying to be his own landlord, at some point. What do you think is the way out for that man at this point?
First of all, I would like to talk about being pricey. The reason it's pricey is because materials in the built industry are exponentially going up here. What the government needs to do for that is to ensure there are subsidies within materials for building for the developers. That will bring down the cost of delivery on those products. For the average Nigerian that is trying to find succor in building, they should approach mortgage companies that are reliable. They should approach developers that are serious and are seen to be looking into retail and retail market. Those are the people that they can talk to, invest with, and they should also be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. They really need to read through the books, see things happening, and do their own due diligence. It's a long walk, but I strongly believe that we are ready for it.
Yeah, because most of the time you have to hustle.
You hustle. And like Fela would say, you are buying something, you hustle and collect money. Before you know it, the prices have increased again. And that's basically what's happening. However, the governments and stakeholders within the building industry must come together. There needs to be a forum where we sit, we not just talk. Because we've been having this series of events here and there, both in Lagos and in Abuja and outskirts. There's a lot of lovely blueprints out there. Like I must tell you. I must confess to you, people have had a lot of blueprints of how we can get out of this quagmire. However, we fall short each time on implementation. We fall short in time on the government being firm on certain things. We fall short each time of the built industry ensuring that we follow through this implementation.
What about the ministers that handle housing?
Well, the ministers, I would say, are well informed.
We had some reshuffling.
Reshuffling, finance, housing, recently. I believe it's for the greater good and for the future. I also believe the industry, the ministry should go deep down. Let's look at the industry developers, the major stakeholders, for those of us that are in there, that are like faucets between the average individual and, of course, the Nigerian populace. Let's have better forums where we can have a blueprint or a roadmap to implementation. Like I keep saying it, implementation is the key. Strategy is nothing if you don't have strong implementation for that.
Right, because we've also had conversations about supply. Supply of houses are very limited, and there's so much demand in cities like Lagos. And
let me correct you. Supply of houses is not limited. We have houses going for 500 million, 1 billion in Lagos and in Abuja. They're empty. So it's not about us building those high-end houses. It's about us having, just like I said, the blueprint to implement, to have people that can build houses mid and lower class, affordable, that are realistic.
Quality.
That are realistic, and we have a financial plug in terms of mortgages and financial system that tend to give us single digits, not 2 digits that are flying above the roof, that the average Nigerian cannot afford. So that is where we need to come in. You cannot build infrastructure and growth in any environment without finance, without the right financing for the average Nigerian. So it still begs to question the same question we keep saying every time.
Right.
We need to implement.
And when it comes to implementation, policy-wise, we keep begging for the right policy and implementation from the government. But if we don't get that at this point, what miracle can private sector perform?
The private sector is intelligent and brilliant, full of brilliant developers, industry stakeholders, engineers, architects, and all of that. We have the Real Estate Development Association of Nigeria. It's one of those points that insist that due diligence must be done. That's what we are doing as private institutions here. Developers are coming in and they are talking and they are giving new blueprints to Nigerians, ways and possibilities that exist that can be revisited, that can be explored. So we have had that quadrum, we have that association, we have other built associations where we sit down, we talk, and we do our best to implement. But we can't do it alone. There has to be a decisive and intentional support by the government itself.
All right. So at this point, we must get that support.
Yes, we must get
from
that
the government. But what are you seeing in the next 10 years for Nigeria's housing market?
The next 10 years, I would want us to study Lagos. Lagos is the blueprint for the future. For any other city in and outside Nigeria, Lagos is the blueprint. See what's happening in Lagos now. Just like you said, the paradigm shift from the mainland, from the island to the mainland. Even on the mainland, people, quote unquote, are confused at this stage now. Infrastructure must follow development. So we need to do more of infrastructure. We need to get it right in the financial aspect of ensuring that the average Nigerian and Lagosian itself has funding, the right funding, to meet up to his wages.
Right.
That's basically
okay. And there's also that debate. They say it's better to rent than own a house. What do you think? Does it apply here?
It doesn't hold water.
Doesn't hold water.
It doesn't hold water.
All right.
That's basically.
Thank you so much, sir. This
You're
is
welcome.
Segun Philips, is the MD CEO, Sabreworks. Thank you for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a moment now. Top stories right there in the global economy. Then we see UK inflation rate that rose to 3.3% in the year to March, driven by higher fuel costs due to the war in Iran and the impact on global oil prices. Definitely the same old issue. Everyone expected, it was consensus that March inflation for most countries would be higher because of energy prices. Then we see Finland jobless rate that has risen again, also on the back of the war in Iran. Which is also slowing recovery. All right, major markets are buzzing at this point. Risk assets are, getting back their groove with oil prices actually going down. We'll see if that continues. But that's Business Morning today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. Bye for now.